My name's Karl Dirks, owner of Lancaster Seed Sales, as well as farm manager for FieldView Farms on the cropping side. So we are located here in Mount Joy in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. Farming operation consists of row crops, small grains, and wean to finish hog operation.
FieldView Farms has adopted a lot of economic practices through the years, but they've also adopted a number of environmental practices that are just as important. They've started doing continuous no-till about 15 years ago, and soon after that they started planting cover crops in the majority of their acres.
For the last 10 years we've been covering 100% of the acres we farm every year.
Both the no-till and the cover crops, when paired together, allow them to reduce their soil loss on the farm by as much as 85%. And that's had a very positive impact on soil structure and soil health for the operation.
No-till and cover crops have been a big payback. We've been a lot more efficient with time, fuel, stuff like that. Equipment costs with no-till has been big savings. We haven't had to do 3 passes of tillage like we did before. And water retention has been a lot better. Soil structure has improved, and I think that's been a big part of our soil health plan.
We provide integrated pest management services like crop scouting and in-season testing, as well as environmental services like nutrient management plan writing, conservation plan writing, and odor management plan writing. We also work on the precision ag side, where we will work with farmers to manage their data and to develop prescriptions and to do site-specific planning for both seed planting as well as fertilizer application. So right now, when we're out looking at these barley fields or wheat fields, we're looking for weeds, we're looking for stand count and population, we're looking for any kind of early season disease or any kind of insects that might be present. Most of the time our farmers they just have a lot going on, whether they're managing pigs or they're managing a dairy. They're really good at managing other aspects of their operation, and they kind of subcontract the field walking and the integrated pest management to us. Slug it's in the same family as a mollusk. So if a farm is going to come and put an insecticide on thinking that they're going to kill slugs, it's not going to touch it. And so what we find is that farmers that use insecticides where the insecticides are not needed, the slug populations or the slugs will actually accumulate insecticide. And then when a slug predator comes through, whether it's a wolf spider or whether it's a lightning bug larva, and they attack the slug and eat it, they'll ingest enough insecticide to kill themselves because of unwise use of insecticides. But if you look around here, you should be able to see small spiders as they dart away, some different beetle species underneath these residues. And that's a sign of a healthy soil, is to see all these insects out in the field. It's a constant process. Every year we're evaluating what it costs to put this cover crop out. We're evaluating what our manure analysis is, how much manure we're going to save. So we always have to keep evaluating things, and Karl does that with his data. You know, the data that he collects from the combine is really important for us to make these type of decisions.
This is the monitor that goes with the combine. It's pulling our yield data, and this is an iPad this is Climate FieldView running currently. So it's pulling all the data out of this and putting it under our maps here. As you can see, these couple blue lines here, these are some strip trials. And we can actually, while we're going here, we can pull up hybrid lines and kind of show you, what trials we got going on in the field here. So we use it to track everything from planting through spraying to harvest. The unique thing about it is the analysis tool is very, very quick and very precise. So we can pick out certain passes we see. We get satellite imagery throughout the season, identify the good spots versus the weak spots. We've actually found green snap corn with it at times, disease pressure late in the season, stuff like that. So we've used that heavily the last 4 to 5 years to really pull data apart. Split applying nitrogen trials, a lot of variety trials where we'll split a planter in half, plant 8 rows of one variety, 8 rows of another across multiple acres to try to get a better feel for it. I think it's an underutilized tool. A lot of the newer equipment does have it. A lot of people don't take the time to calibrate it. Beyond just calibrating the combine, everything we harvest gets weighed on a scale at home, on a truck scale. So even if our calibrations are a little off, we do fine tune them at the end and know exactly what we get. All the yield data we pull here and all the fertility trials, we'll go back to that, just trying to be more efficient and more productive. with an acre. Just trying to get basically the most bang for your buck on any given acre of land is kind of what our goal is. And the 4R program really fits very well into that. We are a CAFO with our hog operation. We used to also have layer chickens. So we've been soil testing very heavily for the last 2 decades and balancing our fertility off of that.
Soil testing could be thought of as one of the most basic 4R and regulatory tools that we use here in Pennsylvania. All of our fertility plans, all of our nutrient plans are based off of soil testing. So soil testing is not rocket science. Soil testing is going through a field like this, stopping 8 times, 10 times throughout the field to pull one of these cores, putting it into a bucket, mixing it together and sending it out. It's something that we should be doing on all of our fields at least every other year, just to monitor our nutrient levels to make sure that our agronomic production is being maximized, as well as to monitor those nutrient levels to make sure that our phosphorus levels are not excessive and are not causing undue risk to water quality. When we apply nutrients to our fields, whether it's in the form of manure or whether it's in the form of commercial fertilizer, we're using those 4R practices to make sure that the nutrients we apply end up in the plant. When we're getting realistic yield goals and we're matching nitrogen or matching phosphorus applications for those realistic yield goals, we're limiting the risk of nitrogen moving off-site. And even if we're applying 4R practices, we still need to make sure that we have edge of field and off-site best management practices in place. We have waterways, we have riparian buffers and other edge of field practices that can help soak up that nitrogen before it enters the surface water and becomes a problem. Karl, can you talk to us about your buffer, how this buffer came to be?
Yeah, so this is our Riparian Buffer through a program called CREP. Initially, it was put in about 12 years ago, just renewed the contract this year. What it is, it's a program to plant trees and establish a buffer between field and stream to kind of pick up any extra nutrients we might lose.
So you had recently put manure on this field,
yep,
like this morning, and the buffer is helping to protect the surface water from any runoff that may occur from this?
It works great for this ground. Typically the setback is about 100 feet from the creek. Typically we mow it after nesting season in the latter part of August, early September. And that's about it.
So how many hours a year do you think you have invested in CREP maintenance?
On the average, probably less than 30.
Are you seeing a lot of other benefits of having this buffer?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some wildlife come back into the area, and just the efficiency of it, not having to farm it's pretty great.
Is this ground more profitable in CREP or more profitable in cropland?
It is more profitable in CREP. Regenerative ag is going to be pretty big. For what we can grow out of the ground and the carbon we can suck up in a year, it is pretty impressive. And as our yields escalate, we're doing more every year. And as we diversify cropping practices, cover crops, stuff like that, I think it's going to become a bigger and bigger thing. Understanding yield goals and proper application of fertilizer, I think is our number one. Just understanding what we are actually capable of on every farm. Because we don't treat every farm the same. We don't use a blanket effect. I think we fine tune every acre of ground we have to what we need. Understanding the importance of manure has been another one. Not just dumping it all in one, the closest spot. We've done a lot more moving. Putting all the manure on one farm and all the commercial on another doesn't work. Moving that around has been highly beneficial.
So a farmer adopting a practice, any 4R practice, like using starter fertilizer or doing a split application, we'll talk to them about trying that on small acres first. If you have 80 acres of corn, maybe let's try split application on 5 acres and see how the results are come fall. Maybe if you're looking at modifying your corn planter and you're not quite sure if you want nitrogen set up at planting or if you want to continue putting it in the row, go to your neighbor and see what corn planter they have. Maybe they can come over and plant a field of corn for you and you can compare your practices versus their practices.
Small management details. Precision agriculture has been huge for us. I think that's given us another 10 to 20% what we had before. Just understanding the details of what we do year in and year out has been pretty big. When I was younger, this was the draw. You get to drive the equipment. Anymore, it's more the thrill of growing a crop. The equipment, it's great, but kind of seeing what you put in and what you get out is kind of the bigger reward at this point. I think that's been the greatest part about testing all this stuff is I almost turned it more into a competition than anything else. can we do better than we did the year before? Or, you know, can we find something else that, you know, elevates us to a new yield plateau? It's kind of been the joy of farming at this point. Seeing a crop from start to finish has been pretty neat. And it's amazing what we can do with an acre of land versus what we could do with an acre of land, you know, 10, 15, 20 years ago. It's incredible what we can produce. Yeah, we're in the good part of the field now. And she's pumping 250, 260 now.